You're watching the AM show, and let's get into our biggest story for the day. Former President John Dramani Mahama calls on Ghanaians to rally around the NDC as he argues the need to reset the nation, reset democracy, reset economy and attitude. We are going to discuss the major highlights in the Manifesto launch over the weekend as the former president described the nation as bleeding, and he's promising Ghanaians a new dawn of opportunities, not just for a few, but for all. We have on phone with me Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, and it's a great lineup this morning. On Zoom with me is Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. Doc, good morning, and thank you for joining the conversation.
Good morning to you too.
Great. So before we get into the actual nitty-gritty of our conversation, let's take a listen on what happened over the weekend from the camp of the NDC, and then we'll be back.
We will hold a national economic dialogue to draw up a 4-year fiscal consolidation plan. We would rationalize taxes, abolishing, among others, the obnoxious e-levy, the COVID levy, and the 10% levy on bet winnings. We will review import duties and levies on vehicles and equipment meant for industrial and agricultural purposes. Ladies and gentlemen, we will rationalize port fees and charges and implement emergency measures to stabilize the cedi and the macroeconomic environment. Ladies and gentlemen, we will use the price stabilization and recovery levy to cushion consumers of petroleum products. We will investigate the NPP's opaque gold for oil deal. We will review the gold purchase program of the Bank of Ghana, and will restore the licenses of wrongfully collapsed banks and financial institutions. We will increase indigenous participation in the banking and financial sector, and we will free the statutory funds, the GET Fund, NHIL, Road Fund, to be able to achieve their mandated objectives. Promoting good governance and combating corruption remarkably reduced the size of government to 60 ministers. No more than 60 ministers. And so there will be other things for other people to do. We all can be ministers. I know when I say 60 ministers, I say, there are people aiming to become ministers, but we all can be ministers. So we will choose 60 ministers, but others would have other assignments that they can do. Address the benefit disparities between Article 71 holders. I've said this already. We have 2 public servants, Article 71, and then the others who are under the fair wages. And so we want to bridge the disparity between them so that all of us come under an independent emoluments committee, and our salaries and emoluments are determined from the smallest watchman to the president. Will determine our salaries and wages. A ruthless war against corruption. Operation Recover All the Loot, oral. Is to prohibit political appointees and politically exposed persons, not only political appointees and politically exposed persons, and all 7 public officials from purchasing state assets. So it's not only me who cannot buy a state asset. My wife Lodina cannot buy a state asset. My son Sharaf or Shahid or Farida cannot buy a state asset because they are politically exposed persons. We need a responsive government that will respect the rights and freedoms of our citizens, including journalists, and address the ongoing decay of state institutions and fight corruption by deploying the Operation Recover All the Loot principle. Operation Recover All the Loot Strategy, and that is ORAL. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are presenting to you a manifesto that will help take back your future, take the future of Ghana back into the hands of the Ghanaian people. Cocoa production, which has been one of the mainstay of our economy, has plummeted, and for the first time in the history of our country, the Cocoa Board annual syndication, which was sought after by all international banks, today it has no takers. Nobody is willing to lend Cocoa Board any money. Production volumes are down, and Cocoa Board is seeking to delay delivery of almost 350,000 tons of cocoa to next year. It means that your government, NDC, is the one going to have to find the 350,000 to fill that hole, to pay the debt. Cocoa Board has also defaulted on almost 13 billion Ghana cedis in cocoa bonds. Oil and gas production has declined by 32%, and debt to independent power producers has increased astronomically. Today, the majority of state-owned enterprises are posting massive losses. The COVID pandemic, rather than being an adversity, turned out to be a blessing, with a windfall for this government of almost 25 billion Ghana cedis of inflows, most of which were doled out to companies owned by family and friends. The majority of our citizens are convinced that our country, Ghana, is going in the wrong direction. Faith in our democracy is at its lowest, and many of our youth do not believe that constitutional governance is working for them. Faith in our democratic institutions and the political leadership is at its lowest ebb, and corruption is at its highest, and Ghanaians have become numb to the scandals that are exposed almost every week. And when you have a president who says he does not understand the hullabaloo that is being made about the sale of snitch hotels to a minister in his own government, then clearly he is on a completely different wavelength from the rest of us in this country. My brothers and sisters, this is a president who just doesn't get it. Many domestic and foreign investors have adopted a wait-and-see attitude. Many of them I have met have told me that they are waiting for a signal from the Ghanaian people, that the political and business environment is going to change for the better, that we are going to effect a change of course so that we can provide a reasonable environment for them to put in their investments. Ladies and gentlemen, the Holy Book in Matthew 25, 14, 30 tells one of the parables of Jesus Christ, and this is the parable of the talents. This parable teaches us to invest whatever is put in our care wisely for the benefit of our master. The master in this case is the people of Ghana. This administration is just like the last of the servants who buried his talents that was given to him by his master, and when his master came, he returned the 1 talent to him. But in this case of Akufo-Addo and Bawumia and their cabal, they did not bury the 1 talent and give us back our 1 talent when we returned. They gambled with the talents that we gave them, and they landed the people of Ghana in a huge debt. We cannot continue on this path. Lessons must be learned from the experience of these last almost 8 years. A vote for the MPP will be an expression of satisfaction with the impunity of the last 8 years. A vote for the MPP is a vote for a 3rd term for Nana Akufo-Addo. A vote for the MPP in this election is a vote to escape accountability. It is a vote to allow officials who have stolen and raped this country's resources to escape accountability and go laughing all the way to their bank accounts. Ladies and gentlemen, their flag bearer and his running mate, who have been prominent actors in this horror movie Ghanaians have watched these last almost 8 years, you know horror movies, don't you? Their flag bearer and his running mate, who have been prominent actors in the horror movies Ghanaians have watched these almost last 8 years. These people cannot be the ones to exact accountability from the government of which they have been an integral part. We are at a critical juncture in our democratic history. Choices we make in elections come with consequences. We cannot afford to fail this time. A restive youthful population does not have the luxury of trial and error. They do not have the luxury of trying a driver's mate who has learnt his driving skills from the same driver who crashed the Ghanaian vehicle of state. Our nation needs a reset. Our democracy needs a reset. Our economy needs a reset. Our governance needs a reset. And our attitudes need a reset.
Interesting there. But Vice President and presidential candidate Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia dismisses the reset mantra of the former President John Dramani Mahama, and he's declaring his will to upgrade the nation rather than a reset, as held in his maiden media encounter yesterday on his vision and policies and some of the questions that were posed by journalists to him on a wide range of issues for him to answer. So the question is, to reset or to upgrade? At this point, as we speak, the competition is no longer about a former president and a sitting vice president. It's about the vision of these two individuals, all the political parties vying for the enviable position of president, and what their unique approach is and how it meets us at the point of our needs. Let's discuss this. First, I have with me Dr. John Osai Kwapon, a CDD fellow. Doc, I'm sure you listened to the former president over there and some of his punchlines on how Ghana does not have the luxury for, trial and error, and how we cannot trust the mate of a driver who crashed the vehicle. First of all, what did you make of the entire ceremony and the manifesto that was launched on Saturday?
Good morning. Thank you very much. A very well organized ceremony. You can feel the enthusiasm, excitement in the room. You can tell that the party is very united. They are really looking forward to being able to win the upcoming election and unseat the MPP from power. And so, as part of that, if you look at the manifesto that they launched, it covers all sectors of the economy. They are proposing and putting forth policies and programs to address everything from education to health to agriculture, governance issues, all of that, which again is to be expected. That is what you want to see in an election year, where your political parties and candidates running for the highest office of the land, put out ideas for voters to consider. It's very interesting that their manifesto is framed as a reset agenda, and that, I believe, is informed by their own assessment of some of the pinch points that Ghanaians have faced over the last several years, right? So they are looking at some of the economic challenges. They are looking at some of the governance issues as captured in the various democracy and good governance indices. And in their mind, we have to reset. So that's how they they are framing it, which is a very interesting framing for the election, which was also interesting to see Dr. Bawumia, sort of contrasting that to say, we don't need a research agenda. We actually need an upgrade. And it will be up to voters to figure out which of these election narratives they are ready to embrace.
Please hold for me. Let me also bring in Dr. Kwame Asante, political scientist and head of European Studies at the University of Ghana. Doc, let's start with your impressions. I mean, first, the mode of delivery. How will you assess the NDC's presentation of their manifesto? And do you think it resonated with the aspirations of the average Ghanaian voter?
Good morning, Sweetie, and good morning to our viewers. And let me also extend greetings to my brother, Dr. John Osai Kwapong. Right.
Yeah.
The good news is that we are getting manifestos from the two political parties and expected to also get more from other political parties. What they have churned out so far, so good, because they address nothing but the problems of this country. And then they give us hope as to what we can look forward to, provided they will be able to deliver as promised. But for starters, I believe that the manifesto that they outdoor last week speaks to the numerous problems that we have in this country. And it also underscores their ideology in a certain way that is also commendable. Yeah. We have seen a lot of them, and we continue to see improvement. If you look at what they churned out last election, we have seen changes. Obviously, it's important and it's to be expected.
Yeah.
And that is a function of what they have picked on the ground, and that they want to harp on certain things and then de-emphasize certain areas and then bring in other areas to bear on society. So for all the intents and purposes, I believe that it is something that is good, but we want to interrogate it further, and that would lead us to asking the very important questions for them to provide answers. Then we know that they are capable of defending what they put there, and what they have put there resonates with the people. They should not have something that will be at variance with our interests. Then obviously it's a misnomer.
Right.
But what they have, I know that it reflects the true position of the situation on the ground.
Okay, so in terms of probing or interrogating the issue, do you think there were any significant omissions? Is there something that the Ghanaian was expecting to see? Any key issues that were expected to be addressed but were not? Did you pick up on anything like that?
Their last manifesto, I don't know whether it's me who missed it. I saw emphasis on, vocational training. All right. Yes, apprenticeship, which I thought was a big one. Because you see, if you see countries which are in the first world, apprenticeship and, vocational training, they talk about vocational training, but apprenticeship, their last manifesto was heavily driven in a certain way by that factor, apprenticeship. There are a lot of idle hands in this country that they are not lazy. Sometimes we get them wrong and say that, oh yeah, these are lazy chaps and all that, except that they don't have employable skills. And you can only get that when you go through what? Apprenticeship. They don't have qualification and they don't have employable skills too. So you want to what? Yeah, academic qualification will be a problem, then give them what? Apprenticeship. Training.
But Doc, I mean, as part of the 26 things he said he would do in his first 120 days, he also mentioned that he'll launch the following priority job creation programs in his first budget. That is the Jumera program and the National Apprenticeship Program. So it was mentioned. Yeah.
Then I got it wrong. They are right. Okay. So once they bring it back, it tells you that it's one of my fine areas, because I walk and I drive around and I see a lot of people without these skills, apprenticeship skills.
Okay.
They don't have employable skills. It is when you have employable skills that you can be employed. But if you look at having dealt with that problem, you realize that they covered every aspect of the economy, as my brother, Dr. Kwapon said.
Right.
And but the interesting thing, which I'm sure we'll come to that, is to look at the two manifestos, where
Absolutely.
they agree,
We
where
will
they
do that
converge,
comparison.
and where they are different.
Right.
So,
okay.
But so far, these are my initial take on the whole document.
Okay. Let me go to Dr. John Osai-Kwapon. Doc, now, over the years, Ghana has seen multiple public sector reform initiatives aimed at improving governance, right? We can talk about the public sector reform strategy, even the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan, and so on and so forth. Now, the NDC is proposing the establishment of a Governance Advisory Council to ensure transparency and accountability in public administration. From your perspective, how effective do you think this council could be in strengthening Ghana's democratic institutions, especially in relation to similar efforts in the past?
So I think sometimes what happens is that when you look at past reform efforts and you don't feel like it's really giving us the dividends that we need to improve, in this case, the governance architecture, then what happens is that you start thinking, perhaps we need something different. We need a different tool, right? And maybe the argument may be that that different tool is what would really get us the results. So I believe that becomes the basis for proposing this idea of having another governance setup and a governance advisory council. I mean, in principle, there is nothing wrong with trying another tool or another idea. But we also have all of these other, institutions, tools, things already in place. I come from the position of sometimes you need to retool what is already in place instead of trying to add a new tool to it, because then you ask yourself, what difference will that new tool make? In the case of Ghana, we always talk about the fact that when it comes to issues of corruption, we have enough we have enough laws on the books that should allow us to prosecute very successfully the issue of corruption. And so, again, in principle, I can see why the former president and his party is thinking something new, something different may help us get the dividends that we want out of our governance architecture. But in practice, I'm just asking myself, can we still draw on the existing tools and reconfigure them so that it can get us the results that we feel continues to elude us?
Right. Let's do the comparison there. Let me come to Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. So both political parties want to fight corruption. The NPP is saying they're going to use digitalization to fight it, remove the human interface in various public institutions. And the NDC is saying they want to establish this, what's it called? The Governance Advisory Council to ensure transparency. Which of these proposals has what we actually need to fight corruption? Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante.
You agree with me that the fight against corruption has been an albatross around our neck. All governments in the Fourth Republic have failed to deliver what is expected of them relative to what corruption fight. They end up being treating the issue with kid gloves, so we don't get the results. But from the literature and from what I have seen and where I come from, I have no doubt in my mind that we have the best laws. We have very fine institutions, even though they have problems. Sometimes they themselves are complicit, and the rest of them. But the preponderance of corruption, it leaves me in no option than to say that we are losing the fight big time. And one factor that is driving this is lack of political will. Because if you look at the recent law passed to establish the Office of the Special Prosecutor, one would have thought that that would be the game changer. But events have turned you know, has proved us what? Not necessarily right. Events have turned a different thing. Let's look at what President Kufuor put in, zero tolerance for corruption, this and that, Nana Akufo-Addo and all that. I get the impression that we need something more, and that something more is what? Political will. Let's look at the MPP. They want to fight corruption using what? Digitization.
Yeah.
Fine. After digitization, what next? After we have found out from the political system or from the system you put in place that Mr. A or B has done something untoward and all that, you then move to what? Prosecution. And who does that? Is it not the state? Has the state got the political courage, will to deal with this? And if you look at all the parties from the beginning of this republic, they fail, especially dealing with their own. It becomes a problem. And for me, that is where you can have the best advisory council, you can have the best laws, but if you don't have political will to deal with corruption head on, I'm afraid. So, yes, they have come out with all manner of nice ideas to deal with corruption. But I think that they have not convinced me beyond reasonable doubt for me to believe that they are ready to fight corruption. What I want to hear from them is that we will master the courage and deal with corruption by what? Setting examples from within. If any of our people, our own, crosses the line, we are ready to do ABC.
But John Mahama said that. He did say that if you're in his cabinet and you're found culpable, you're on your own. He's not a clearing agent.
Yes,
in one of his tours and engagements, he mentioned, yeah.
It's a bold step, but it's very light to me, in a sense that, yes, at this level, I'll pardon him. But when it comes to real governance and the issue crops up, I don't want to hear a statement that, look, corruption started from Adam. You recall that statement from President Kufuor.
Yeah.
And corruption has been with us since time immemorial and the rest of them. The real test is what? On the ground. So, and it's a test of what? Political will, nothing more, nothing less. Because institutions are failures. They themselves are complicit. They are part and lost their steam to fight corruption. If you look at what? Laws and regulations and all that, they exist, but we don't have the courage to what? Enforce them.
Okay.
All right. We want to, pass the back by passing what? Office of Special Prosecutor, what? Law. What are we saying? Yeah, the office is doing it bad, but you see efforts by government not enhancing what the commission is doing, the office is doing. Sometimes they complain of resources and all that.
Right.
But when it comes to prosecution, as the government got the courage to allow these things to happen, for me, they should be able to what? Clear that hurdle for me. That I will believe that they are in. You can bring all the nice ideas, all the nice plans, if you are not able to what? Prosecute, I'm afraid. So, yeah, they've said it.
Okay.
And that is it.
We'll get to Guta shortly and see what's also in the manifesto for them. But Dr. Osani-Kwapo, I want to get your reflection on this. I mean, is our biggest challenge against the fight of corruption political will? And if so, which of these manifestos has a pointy approach to deal with the situation head on?
Yes, I do agree. The political will is a major part to fight corruption, especially in regime accountability, right? If you look at the history of the Fourth Republic, it's easier for a party in government to try and hold those that they just unseated accountable for their acts whilst they were in government. Right. The issue is always what happens to your own appointees when you are in power, when they are found to have allegedly been engaged in acts of corruption, which is the genesis for the creation of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, because the argument was, look, you need someone independent to be able to do that in regime accountability. So if you haven't said that, yes, I agree, the political will has to really be there to fight it even within your own government. Now, if you look at the two manifestos from the two major political parties, trying to use digitalization as one of the keys. Yes, that's important.
Right.
If you can remove the human element in public transactions, then you can reduce the opportunities for corruption. But the other, some of the ideas from the NDC, which is also looking at conflict of interest issues and things like that. I mean, it's all different ways of trying to get at the issue of corruption. For me, both hold promise, but at the end of the day, it would still boil down to, do you still have the political will to be able to really implement those anti-corruption measures that you're promising now?
Okay, let's get to Dr. Joseph Obeng, the president for GUTA, and see what he also thinks about the manifesto. Dr. Obeng, thanks for joining the conversation. Do I hear Dr. Joseph Obeng? Okay, please unmute. Great. It's good to hear you. Now, the NDC's promised tax incentives and reduced operational costs for businesses participating in their 24-hour economy. You have some concerns about tax reforms and all that. What's in this manifesto for you?
Yeah, we had engagement with their manifesto committee, and they've taken into consideration some of our concerns. And for that matter, I'm happy with it. With regards to duty payment, that has been our major concern. They said that they are going to rationalize fees at the port and also scrap needless charges that affect importers. It is important. Now, they also went on to specifically say that when it comes to spare parts, they are going to make it a fixed rate system. So the fixed rate system is what we are all clamoring for. That, when our brothers in the spare parts industry is going to enjoy that, we thought it would be replicated for all the other sectors. And so it's in good stead that we have a simplified and fixed rate system that will help all sectors of the trading community. The port working at 24/7 is also very good in that it will help us facilitate the trade. Trade facilitation is cost, time, and ease of doing business. So if we're able to use time effectively so that we'll be able to clear our goods around the clock, then of course it is also very positive. We've been talking about illegal charges being charged by the shipping lines, and that they said that they are going to do everything to stop those illegal and excessive shipping fees and reduce business costs at the port. And this is what we have been talking all the time, and for them to also recognize that there's the need to make sure that the shipping lines do the right thing and not take advantage of the shipper is also very important for us. Then also the VAT. We have been talking about VAT. We have been fighting. We have been closing our shops and all that because the structure is not conducive for business, and that they have also recognized that they are going to simplify it and to make it uniform for us. This is what we have been talking about all the time. And so for them to also recognize and factor into their manifesto is a very good thing that will help businesses. We've been saying that the taxes are being paid by just a few of us, and that the tax net needs to be expanded. This one too, they've taken into consideration, and they are saying that they are going to expand the tax net. This have been on the table all this time, but this time round, I think we have to spread the tax net to capture other segment of the economy. We've been saying that those who work in construction industry, the electricians, the plumbers, the painters, the tilers, and all that, what system are we putting in place to bring them on board the tax system, so that taxes will not be paid by just a few of us? Then the issue of affordable credit has been on the table. If you recall, traders wanted to even establish our traders bank. Why is it so? Our mandate is not to establish bank. Ours is to trade. But because we are always frustrated in getting affordable credit, we wanted to establish our own bank. So establishment of the Women Development Bank is in right direction, and it's a noble thing to do, especially anything that is designed to empower our women is very noble, and we support that. But there also, we think that the SME space have men who also need support. And so they should also design something for the men, especially those in the informal sector who also operate with the women. Okay, so in all fairness, we should also think about the men. We are also struggling.
I'm sure they've heard you and noted. Just two quick follow-ups. So you said they've taken some of your requests into consideration. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much was the degree of how much of your input was reflected in the manifesto?
You know, we presented 20-point agenda. You understand, and so you realize that they can't take it all.
So how many out of the 20 points?
We are satisfied with those that they've at least identified that they have the capacity to do. And these are the things: import clearance and all that. The fixed tax system is very important, and you know that's what we are all, because we have to be able to predict the duty that we are going to pay. And if it's going to go for...
Let's stay on this for a bit. So, I mean, have you probed to find out the actual value to be benchmarked, to, make the value of ports or the charges the same as what they are doing in, is it Togo or Cote d'Ivoire? In Lomé. Have you probed to get the actual value to be benchmarked?
No. You can't get it unless customs sit down and look at the duties that we've been paying all the time and then extract the necessary averages. So we cannot come out with a figure now, but when it comes to operation, the stakeholders will sit down sector by sector, where Ghana Revenue Authority will come out with the duties that we pay for particular goods and all that. I think this is very doable. And then we start common average, and then if Ghana Revenue Authority want to add some percentage, 20%, 30%, they can add so that they can maximize their revenue. This is very doable, and we will pursue that.
Dr. Albin, before I let you go, so now you've seen what's in it for you from the NPP manifesto. You've also seen what's in it for you from the NDC manifesto. I mean, NPP plans to implement wide-ranging tax reforms, including a flat rate tax for importers and the abolition of betting tax, etc. The NDC plans to review some taxes, focusing on progressive taxation to fund social programs. Which of these manifestos meet you at the point of your needs in terms of taxes and revenue generation and everything that is important to you at Guta?
The most important thing is that they all recognize the fact that something drastically needs to be done, and that the duties, the charges, the taxes that we pay are very high. That's the most important thing. And so I'm not here to do comparison. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Obeng. That's president of Guta. Let me come back to Dr. Kwame Asante. Doc, so comparing the NDC manifesto and the NPP's manifesto, particularly in terms of policy depth and feasibility, which would you say is superior?
Oh, for that, I reserve that for the public to make that distinction. But what I can do is to look at the issue and go into it and bring certain things out for conversation. I'll look at the comparison from 3 or 4 perspectives:
Right.
political, economic, social, and others. Let's look at political, all right? They talk about the good governance thing, and MPP also talk about something in that regard. Both political parties are aware that corruption is a problem. So they want to find a clever way of dealing with it, even though that doesn't convince me. I've made my point clear about that. So the fact that they also, the two parties are aware that the fight against corruption is still on, and that we have not come to the end of the road. For me, that is one area that the two policies get into one or become one. Now you move on to issue of what they talk about, the Constitution and the need to amend portions of it.
Right.
Yes, this has been on the drawing board since time immemorial, and the problem is that, particularly with the NDC, they had opportunity to put into implementation the constitutional review reports, but they did not do so. Now we are in, and they want to review the constitution and all that. The two parties, they've seen that, and they've mapped out certain areas that they believe that they need to go, the rest of them. If you look at them too, I think they also did touch on the fact that they touch on the fact that there's a need for, district assembly MMDCs to be elected, particularly MPP.
Non-partisan elections.
Yeah. This is an issue that, to be fair with government gave the people of Ghana the opportunity to go through a referendum and then undertake this exercise. We blew it away. So, yes, they want to bring it back. Fine. It's a good thing. It's a good thing we want to see. Now, on the issue of economic sector, they all talk about issue of taxation, that they've realized that there's something problematic with our taxes. And the first port of call is that they need to widen the tax net to include a lot of people who, before this time, were outside the tax net. Brilliant. And more so, I give credit to the NDC, who are, looking forward to, bringing all of them to bed. MPP as well. There are a lot of people who are doing a lot of businesses within the informal sector.
Right.
And they are not known by law. They should come in. It's not only the tax that you pay, but you also when you file your returns, there are benefits that go with that. We know that a state that is not able to generate revenue for its administration is going to suffer problem. That is from the state capacity level. We are saying that by state capacity, we are talking about an aspect of it which says that there should be extractive capacity of the state, the ability of the state to raise revenue to manage its own affairs. And that is what they are doing, and for me, it's a good thing. But my worry is that how effective do you put the taxes that you have derived from people into beneficial programs? All right. Are you going ahead to deal with problems of cathedral that we don't need, which a lot of people force us into believing that we need a cathedral, and we sang about, millions of dollars there. The real issues are there, but we forget about. So taxation,
right?
We've done that. But if you look at taxation, what the NDC promises is in line, and that of the MPP is in line of what they believe is the philosophy of their party. In other words, the ideology. NDC is a social democratic party that always believe in certain aspect of democratic life, that democracy must provide certain dividend, and that there's a need to, if you look at the stark reality relative to capitalism, it comes with harsh measures. So there's a need to cushion people from these problems, and that's where welfareism comes in. The two political parties are introducing policies that would deal with this problem from welfare perspective. Are you with me? So
yes,
those are
right.
nice things. They've talked about issue of what? Dealing with illegal mining.
Yeah.
The two parties have talked about illegal mining and all that. For the MPP one, it's laughable to me in the sense that you are now confronted, you are in government, you are confronted with what the problems here. What is your solution? When is Dr. Baumia going to
Oh, we're having some challenges with our connection to Dr. Kwame Asasa today, and hopefully we'll get him back soon before our time is exhausted. But let me come back to you, Dr. John Osai-Kwapo. So, I mean, really, both manifestos touch on the key things that Ghanaians want to see, and there are a lot of similarities, I like to say, because, you know, the problems are really are one in terms of healthcare, economic strategy, taxation, and all that. And both parties emphasize job creation, with the NPP targeting 1 million jobs through digital skills, construction, and agriculture, while NDC is focusing on industrialization and that 24-hour economy. What would be your comparative assessment of these two manifestos, and what are the gaps that he cited?
So for me, as you rightly pointed out, both of them are proposing to do quite a number of things across all of the sectors of the economy. There are certain similarities. So, for example, the MPP is promising a repeal of the e-levy, and so is the NDC. The NPP is still committed, and of course, it's their signature policy to continue the free SHS, and so is the NDC. If you think about some of the other sectors, I mean, both of them have different ways, but are still promising to do something about the whole galamsey or small-scale mining issue. Both of them are promising some tax reliefs, here and there as well. For me, as I look at all of the interventions that they are promising, the one thing, though, that I want to highlight is the cost of all of these things. Because at the end of the day, these programs, all the things that are being offered, would have to be paid for.
Right.
And if you look at our current fiscal reality, you can't help but ask yourself, how are we going to finance all of these things? Which for me it should be a critical component of the conversation that we are having about these manifestos. If you look at the FY24 budget, it has projections for what would happen over the next 3 years, 25, 26, 27. Now, things may change. The picture may look much better, but at least our current fiscal reality says that you have to find a way to promise, to show how these things will be paid for. Even the repeal of the e-levy, if you look at the projected revenues from e-levy over the next 3 years, we are talking almost about $9 billion. 9 billion cedis. So if you are going to repeal the e-levy, offer other tax incentives, you're changing your revenue picture, whilst at the same time promising things that will cost money to do, which is my main point here is, when all is said and done, the main gap for me is, how will all of these things be paid for, given the situation we find ourselves in, as captured in our budget?
And this is for both the NDC and the NPP, right? The gap for you was not addressing how they are going to be, implementing these policies, especially the financing of some of these initiatives.
Precisely. So and you see, most of the time, when you bring up the question, you tend to get the response in previous years that at this stage, we're talking ideas and proposals, right? That it is at the implementation that you start thinking about cost. But I draw people's attention to something President Akufo-Addo did in 2012. If you recall, when the free SHS program was gaining traction in terms of our political conversations, he gave a speech where he outlined how much it could probably cost us and how much of our oil revenue and our GDP we can devote without harming other sectors. That is what I am looking for the political parties to do something similar, which is to say, we are promising to do this, it will cost us this much, here's how we will finance it.
Thank you so much, Doc. Please hold for me. In the studio with me, I've been joined by Mr. Asaki Awingobit. Mr. Asaki Awingobit, welcome to the program. And he is the Executive Secretary for Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Right. So, I mean, we've listened to both manifestos at this point. In terms of taxation, both, parties are promising something. One, NPP plans to implement wide-ranging tax reforms, including a flat tax rate for importers, right? And the NDC wants to review some of these taxes and focus on progressive taxation to fund all these programs and initiatives. First of all, what was your initial thoughts on the manifesto and how it could implement or impact your operations as importers and exporters?
Well, this is the first time I'm meeting you. What's the name?
Sweetie Abochi.
Okay,
yeah.
I think you interviewed me before via phone also.
Yes, via phone.
Let me say a very big good morning to all your viewers worldwide and Ghana at large, and also a very big good morning to all the importers and exporters in this country. Then let me greet the people of PNC, the delegates. PNC, I'm a PNC member.
Okay.
And I am contesting to become the next national chairmanship of the party, to be the national chairman for PNC. And our election is coming this Saturday.
Okay.
31st of August. And so all the PNC, all the delegates, regional delegate, national level, wherever you are, this is your potential chairman to be. And we shall make sure that we will sell the party and everybody will hear about PNC after 31st December,
Right.
31st of August comes.
Okay.
Yes, I strongly believe that we are in a crucial moment. A few months to go into the polls. 7th December, Ghanaians would go to queue and then to vote to elect the next leader of the country and those who manage the economies of this country. And so for us, where I sit as the Executive Secretary, we are very much concerned about the economic issues, especially taxes,
Yeah.
and especially what they are putting up to help accelerate Ghanaians to expand in terms of production, and so that the way many people have been pointing fingers at us, and I'm so sweet, you are part of us, part of those people, say we are importing everything, even including toothpick.
But it's
What suffices me in the both major political party manifestos so far is none of them could not, unless you correct me, state categorically that if we come industrialization, we are going to give special utility tariff to industries. Industries are crying in this country, and people have the machinery, and they are not producing up to optimum because of the cost of utility tariff. I didn't see it in any of them have not made any specific area that, look, when we come, we will give you maybe, if you are going to get loan to do manufacturing, maybe 10% per annum. Maybe utility tariff special package will be done through the Public Utility Services Commission to EC and to Ghana Water, because manufacturing, like this, power and water, use so much, isn't it? So these were some of the things that I was looking for, dramatic areas. The other aspect is to review taxes, yes. We have been crying since, even the last budget that was presented in 2023 against 2024, that there was a need for the government to actually abolish certain taxes. Remember, we talk about the 2% special import levy in the port. We spoke about the 2.5 VAT upfront tax in the port. We talk about the VAT at this point in time, that import VAT that we used to pay 12.5 plus get fund plus health insurance, making it 17 point. Now the government has moved to 22 point something, which is a huge cost on the business person. Then we talk about COVID levy, because we remember 2017, the government of today, they made in budget in 2017, they abolished 1% special import levy. But the import levy, special import levy were two. It was 2% and 1%. So they cut off the 1%. And that same 1% was promulgated and brought back to replace COVID. We were very glad, charitable to say, yes, if you are trading, you must be trading in a healthy nation. And so if there's a grief and the government is asking the business community to also contribute their quota, why not? But the point here is, as we speak now, the very institution, credible and authentic institution that ask nations to put restrictions and measures in place to curtail or to control COVID arisement.
Right.
Gail came out and said, COVID is no more a pandemic. Is that not it? And so all the restrictions, you know, the president put certain restrictions on you and I not to move out. Remember? So if all those things have been brought down, why are you still calling COVID levy? And to me, even if the COVID levy were 10 to say, okay, you see, Kolubu, the regional, what do you call it? Regional unit, or what do you call it? Where they go,
the regional unit, yeah.
The people go.
Dialysis unit, yeah.
Yes, we had to have money they said they were owing. And as we speak now, the place is down.
Okay,
Not that those monies were channeled to go there to support that department so that Ghanaians who cannot afford and going there can be taken care of. As we speak, the place is down. So
are you saying that there's nothing at all in these two manifestos for you? I mean, I thought there would be some applause line coming from you because of the flat tax rates for importers.
Oh,
how did you find that,
Sweetie,
that promise?
Sweetie, I think one of the areas I've just outlined is what the MPP manifesto attempt to address when they come to government.
Attempt, but not actually address it.
No, they haven't because they're in government now and they've not been able to address it. The vice president is saying that when he becomes president, e-levy will be struck out. Is that not it? I think he mentioned COVID levy too.
Yeah.
I think he mentioned, after COVID levy, he mentioned another levy.
Yeah, a couple of them.
Yes. But the 3 sustainability tax, he didn't talk about it. As we speak now, many organizations are not making profit. Yet, every 3 months, every quarterly, GRA goes to them and said, you have to pay your quarterly. Because they made the company like, your company like this. They would have come, the GRA would have come to ask them that. They'll tell them how much they are going to be making profit. Then they will divide it into 4 times. So every month, your accounts, go and ask your accounts department. They pay money that for sustainability that they are not even making profit. And I'm not talking about we those who are in the trading sector, where the city depreciation has really come to destroy and people have lost their capital and people don't have money now. So yes, the vice president is now assuming that if he becomes, he aligned about 4 or 5 taxes. And yesterday in his press engagement, someone asked him, then he said yes. That's why he's talking about fiscal discipline and that they will reduce the GDP cost by 3%.
Yeah.
And so those taxes that he enumerated that when he comes, he will abolish, it's not even up to 1%. You heard him? Were you there? Oh. Yeah, that's what the vice president said. Very lucrative, very. And then, of course, when you speak about, when the vice president talk about, or when the MPP said that they will give us flat rate at the port, very lucrative. But I ask questions, or they will make a port like Lumi, very lucrative. It rings good. But my fear is, have we had good, sweet speeches like that in the previous year?
Have we had what?
Good, sweet speeches.
Okay.
In the previous year. Did we? Yes, we did. We had sweet speeches in 2016.
So your challenge is with implementation.
In 2020 elections. What did we see? When we were crying that some certain taxes should go off, it still went. And they even increased the taxes on us. So that's my fear. But I'm not saying that I have a doubt his capacity or his capability. No. But the point is, have you promised us before? And when you came, what happened? Contrary to your promises. We can put the videos and play today. We'll move it from taxation to production. It was a sweet thing. Everybody wanted that. Now he said he'll give a tax exemption. It's good. He will give tax amnesty. Is that not it?
Right.
He will give us very lucrative. But let me say that I still push that I want social contract. That's the MPP one. We'll come to the NDC one. Okay. The MPP one want to have a social contract to know that if Mr. Vice President, if we win president today, tomorrow, in which of his budget that this tax abolition or scrapping will happen? Is it going to be the first year 2025 budget, main budget? Is it going to be 2025 mid-year budget review? Is it going to be his second year? Is it going to be his third year? And at what time will we make the port like Lomé? At what time will we make the flat rate to be at the port? We are talking about what...
So you're looking for timelines, assurances, and some sort of visibility assessments and
exactly so that
clear documents to
clear document, precise ones, so that when they come to government, you can ask them, this is what you promised at this time, this is your budget. We need to see this appearing in their budget document.
Right.
I hope you are good. For the NDC,
you have to hold. Okay, finish that.
For the NDC, they've also promises. Whether in government before, yes, they were in government. What did they do to the business community at the time? When we used to say, hey, like my friend Bajentaro said, they would say, hi, then somebody's running away. When we used to say, hey, and my very good friend, Dr. Oben, is listening now, is watching. If he's watching, or his people are watching. Yeah. The NDC will not listen, will not call us to their meetings, but they'll do what we want.
Okay.
So I want to appeal to my senior brother, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. His government, we have raised so many issues. You have asked you to do something. A, B, C, D. They know. They will call us to meeting. We'll discuss peacefully. We'll live there. Then nothing happens. Nothing absolutely happens. You remember the Kumasi issue? Kumasi stores owners and shop owners lockdown. You remember? You remember there was going to be a budget. You remember Gutatu did the same 2 days. Then the president called them to meeting and said, "Look, my minister was in New York negotiating the
Okay, Mr. Wingobit, you have to hold for me. Let me get on back to Zoom and engage our panelists, and I'll come back to you. I know that thing is flowing.
The thing is flowing. I'll be flowing the web. I'm for their interest.
Dr. John Osai Kwapon. Obviously, I mean, importers, Dr. Kwame Asasante is actually back. Doc, you didn't finish your trail of thoughts before you left. You were summing up on your comparative assessment of the two manifestos. Yeah.
So let me quickly zoom on to that, and then we'll continue the discussion. I said I will look at it from 3 or 4 perspectives: political, economic, and social. And if you look at political, the two parties promise us certain things they want to do. One, issue of dealing with corruption, even though I have said already that I'm not sure that they have addressed the issue head on, because political will is what really matters. We know that from point of view of what other means, we can talk about socialization, where we inculcate certain values in people so that they get to know that corruption is not the way to go from childhood to adulthood. And then it become part of school curricula and all that. That's fine. Lifestyle audits are very important when you are fighting corruption and all that. These are institutions. In podcast, and when we say institution, we talk about laws, procedures, norms. These are all part. But after everything, what happens? We need prosecution. After digitization, where the machines have found that you are culpable, who gets the power to what? Prosecute? It's the Attorney General. Do they have the courage to do that? And that is a big missing link. From political, they talk about issue of what? Dealing with the Constitution.
Right.
Looking at certain provisions that they think that they need to what? Tweak them a little bit so as to what? Be abreast with the changing circumstances of the time. That is worth knowing. And they brought that one out. They also talk about issue of the economy. They are all focusing on what? Taxation, because they know that they have made promises in that regard. If you look at MPP, they will move from what? Nuisance taxes to production. As to whether we are seeing that is a different thing. The NDC, obviously, they are not in government, so they are promising, right? How they will all do what? Reforms. So they all talk about reforms in taxation to raking more money, bring people into the tax net and the rest of them. Remember, the two parties have said that they want to deal with e-levy and deal with betting tax. For me, when we come to the differences, I'm surprised to hear that from what the MPP, because look, every government must raise revenue. You told us that e-levy was going to be the game changer. What have they seen that we have not? And for which reason they want to kick something, the hen that lays the golden egg, you want to sacrifice it for your weekend meal.
Wouldn't that fall into the category of listening to the plight of the people? Because we've been crying that we do not want to be paying e-levy.
It's not listening. Otherwise, it becomes a populist position. All right. Policies are well thought out, what ideas that resonate with the people. But remember, they are driven by what? Taxpayers' money. And it goes through a whole process. And for you to jettison a policy, you need to go through what they call what? The evaluation of it and all that.
Right.
It's not the cry. And then you can bring a very cogent policy. Tomorrow, we will be on the street holding government to ransom. That take it off. Will you take it off? It must be a thought. They did not think through carefully. And then they came with all manner of noise associated with it. Now it has what? Blown on their faces. And that's the reality. In politics, it goes with reward and punishment. If you deceive, you get a reward of being exposed. So that's issue of what? The economy, they talk about export. They want to really improve export and all that. And they also talk about value addition. We want to see more, because for MPP, they talk about 1D, 1F, 1 this, 1 that. We have seen very little. And the MPP, NDC, when they were in office, what did they also do? This time around, can they do something significant to change the fortunes of the people? Remember, one of the points of similarities is the issue of irrigation. They all talk about the need to have irrigation system. MPP came out boldly that we will do irrigation, by going for the Pualugu Dam project. That's a big one. But I also come to ask them, why are you now talking about Pualugu? One would have expected Pualugu to be functional this time. What are we seeing? $12 million. We have not seen much because Pualugu is critical in the sense that look at the announcement from Burkina Faso, the authorities, the Bagri Dam.
Yeah.
We are here sitting on thorns. If you build that dam, it's going to catch some of the water. We use it for irrigational purposes. That will help you to what? The jobs you want to create, you can do agriculture there. And the little that comes in Akuzomo can be managed and that goes to pond so that we don't have a problem.
Okay,
but
Doc.
once you throw that one out, so that is also one of the things that a point of convergence. Another point of convergence is what? Mining sector. They want to improve mining sector and all that. The two parties have said great things about mining, but the difference is that MPP, all that they want to see, I want them to what? Do them now, because the wanton destruction of what? Our water bodies and the environment, forests and all that is still going on. While they are in, what time are they waiting for before they kickstart a program that will help all of us? By the time they come into office, if people give them the nod, all of us would have been ghosts by now. I mean, because we have seen the problems of what? Kidney problems and the rest of them. They all talk about dialysis and all that. Don't create the problem so that you go and cure. No, prevention.
Doc, hold for me on that note. Don't create the problem before you come and look for solutions for it. Let me go to Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. Doc, it looks like freebies are now the order of the day. Both parties are promising some freebies. Free senior high school, first-year tertiary fees scrapped for first-year students, and no taxes, abolishing all these taxes that used to be a revenue generation point for the government. What do you think about these freebies that they're promising, Oliver?
There's always a place for government to intervene in areas where citizens have challenges, right? Which would mean that you would have to, quote unquote, provide some free things. So there's that place for government. Former President Kufuor once said to me that government has a responsibility to guarantee a basic, decent minimum life for everyone. So I can understand some of these proposals where if you feel like, first year fees are a burden for students in our public institutions, you want to do something about it. If you believe that cost is a huge barrier to access to senior high school education, you want to intervene. If you sincerely believe, and the research has shown that for example, period poverty is a major issue that accounts for absenteeism among girls in schools, then you want to intervene. So there's a place for all of those freebies, quote unquote, if you want to term it that way. But I'll go back to my earlier point. We still have to make sure that we have the fiscal space in our budget to be able to do that. And for me, when I look at the budget picture over the next 3 fiscal years as painted in the 2024 budget, I keep saying to myself, where are we going to find the room to be able to do all of these things, especially when we are also promising repeal of the e-levy and other tax reliefs that would in a way also shrink the revenue envelope. Now, the economy, things may change. The economy would grow, etc., and it would change all of those revenue dynamics. But again, my concern remains how we are going to find space within our budget, given what we are projecting over the next 3 fiscal years, to be able to do all of the quote-unquote free things that are being promised in it.
Okay, in terms of, I'll come to Mr. Wingobe just after this. So, Dr. Osai-Kwapong, in terms of good governance, is there reasonable chance that these manifestos actually meet Ghanaians at the point of their needs, of our needs, in terms of good governance?
There's a chance that it would. For me, though, I still have one unmet concern about our governance architecture. our democracy project met with representatives of the political parties earlier on this year, and we made them aware of some of the challenges to Ghana's democratic architecture, and did encourage them that when they come up with their manifestos, they include a democracy pledge in that manifesto. And what we were simply saying is that what we want to see in the democracy pledge is to say that some of these things that we, through research and the analysis of the Afrobarometer, is identifying as key challenges to Ghana's democratic architecture, that in that pledge, you would pinpoint some specific things that you would do to address some of those challenges. And there were 6 of those challenges. We are very disappointed that neither the NDC or the MPP manifestos actually included that democracy pledge in it. Now, maybe it's because they don't see anything, quote unquote, going wrong with our democracy architecture. Yeah. But for us, that democracy project, that's our biggest disappointment.
Thank you, Doc, for that. Let me come back to the studio, Mr. Awingo Bates. Now, in terms of harmonizing pot charges, and I get that the thing was flowing, you're telling us what your reservations and concerns are. The NPP says they want to harmonize pot charges to align them with regional competitors to make duties at Ghanaian ports competitive. The NDC wants to rationalize port fees and charges to reduce the burden on importers and ordinary Ghanaians. Which of these best answers your needs?
Okay, so you could see that the NDC people says that they will rationalize port charges.
Yeah.
They haven't given specific areas that they're going to rationalize. So it's
more broader than specific.
So
yeah,
we need details explanation of what we are talking about. Which of the tariff that will be rationalized, which of them that will not be rationalized. So when they make this statement and they come tomorrow, then this win tomorrow, and could not cut off COVID levy for us, could not take off that upfront VAT, 2.5 upfront tax at the port, could not do something with the 2% special import levy. Then, and could not also give us a CD rate, static CD rate that customs to use in calculating duty, that no longer calculating duty into dollarization form, converting it to the prevailing rate, knowing that our CD is always volatile against the hard currency. So these are the technical questions that where I ask. I don't just look at the policy and say, hey, that's the best policy. But having said that, I've been in around these 2 regimes, NDC government under Mahama and MPP government under Akufo-Addo. And I said there were policies that NDC wanted to introduce at the time, in 2015, 2016. When we say Kakai, they listen to us. They will not meet us face to face. But under Ken Ofori-Atta, under President Akufo-Addo, when there are certain policies that we say Kakai, they will call us to a meeting and we will leave. They will give us good promises and nothing untoward happened. And the Vice President is very much aware of these things. So today, so the question was, Vice President, what went wrong? Why were you not bold to say, look, this COVID levy, please, Mr. President, take it off, because I am in charge of economic management team. Why was it bold to say, look, this special upfront tax that people are talking is increasing cost to them? Why didn't they say, okay, when the city will rise to 14 to 15 cities, that importers were crying of the duty? Why didn't you say, look, okay, give them, use customs, use maybe 10 cities or 8 cities to calculate duty for duty purpose? Because already it was in dollar form. So now that you want to make our port like Lomé, and I said, and give us a flat rate, and I ask, look, what you wear and what I wear, the values is not the same. So maybe I'm importing this in the 20-footer container. You are importing this in the 20-footer container. The value of your product and the value of my product has different values.
Yeah.
So if they give us flat rate, then you can make more money than me. Because someone is bringing tiro, someone is bringing sugar or rice. So we need better and further explanation of this flat rate as to what is going to be done. Then, quite apart from that, there are other institutional fees and charges. FDA, Standards Authority, EPA, Atomic Energy Commission, they are all veterinary service, they are all making another fees and charges for them. Are you going to align them to the flat rate so that it is 8%, 7%, and the flat rate at what rate? Is it 8%, 9% import duty? Then he knows very well that we are under ECOWAS Common External Tariff. All the talk that the Vice President or the MPP is saying, They have failed to tell us that, okay, we are no longer, because we know that we are under ECOWAS common external tariff. That made us some of our import duty rate as far as 35% import. Right. So if you are not coming to give us flat rate, are we going to go to, that's what I'm asking. Because they have to go, his Minister of Finance and Minister of Trade will have to go and convince ECOWAS Commission. Why you think that the President wants to bring flat rate? He cannot just wake up overnight and give us flat rate. It has to go to ECOWAS, come back to our parliament before it's admitted. They agree. Is there
any consultation or engagements with your outfit?
Just seconds. Besides that, to compare or to equate us with the Lomé port. The Lomé port, when you bring your cargo to the port and the discharge, like our port here, the cargo has a place, cargo holding area, okay? When I say cargo, I'm talking about the goods. Then who brought the goods? So, sweetie, you want to buy the laptop from me? Maybe 10 or 20 pieces or 1 million pieces of the laptops, or it's a car, or rice, whatever, 1,000 bucks. You pay me my money. Then I'll give you the note. You take it to custom, and the custom will assess, and you will pay. You, the buyer, will pay the duty to the government, and now take the goods to the economic zone. They call it economic zone. Like now, bring the goods to Makola, Okanse, Katamanto. Yeah. But here is the case that when we bring the goods, we have to cough the money. Even people who have goods sitting in custom money warehouse, whereby he has to get a buyer and knowing the quantity the buyer is buying before he or she can get the money and pay the duty. Government sometimes go there and say, look, we know your goods is in custom money warehouse, but government need the money. So these are the questions I'm asking the Vice President. Then, so when you come to a port, there's no place to hold the cargo. Even goods are sitting in port here, we start, when delay, it past certain days, customs are even charging, including state warehousing, when there's nothing like state warehousing in the port. But those days, before the port was expanded, they used to be state warehousing. Now, when they expand the port, they break all those places. So there's not like state warehousing there in the port. Yet even they calculate interest on state warehousing on importers. So there are good lucrative promises. There are good lucrative promises, but I strongly believe that. I don't want to say I know more than the Vice President. No. But as an industry player, I want to ask that, did they actually inquire with the GRA or the custom? Please, you people, you the media, take your microphone and go and ask customs. They should be bold to speak to the issues.
That's what I was asking you, if you had any engagement. But hold for me. So now there was something also in the manifesto for cocoa farmers. Let's take that sound and then join Nana Obuadi-Obuating-Bonsu, who is the Concerned Cocoa Farmers Association lead, and we try to have a conversation on that. First, the sounds.
Board, health insurance, cocoa bia, card na, we are cocoa ya register where we are when your card no, and one say, what they call hospital. Cocoa board besan renew amawa, bia call hospital, won't fear you. I say, if we have 4 bonus na, I NDC are buying the bonus na a day, I baby you. I say, no, I fertilizer. Fertilizer, you rajon mama. Otogu ho, say you find your cocoa no. Or church not for sale, not for sale. Ebra ye fra konyaso ni enche fertilizer ni wie. Na dodo na agu office. Yenu anu man bi before buy no. Amso amoto fertilizer no 80 Ghana. Akuafo na ntimi anto. Into amani gu office ho proy. Auditor General the report abrai of parliament say fertilizer e proy enko ano. Na ne bo eye 239 million Ghana cedis. Eye titisika no almost 240 billion. Omumanugu office SAE kwa. Yera mama say the fertilizer ni babio. Sabaya cocoa no beso. Obama akuafo free fertilizer. Yebama wonro na akuafo timi ayemfuo no ama cocoa na ayedai aye kama.
Nana Obuadi-Obuating-Bonsu is from the Concerned Farmers Association. Nana, thanks for connecting with us. So, the NDC is promising some free fertilizers, free healthcare for cocoa farmers, an increased price, really, for you. First of all, how does it sit with you?
Thank you very much, and then good morning to your viewers, the listeners across the country, and then a very good morning to Concerned Farmers for a very wonderful role that we played to save the cocoa trees in this country. I think listening to the two political party manifesto and then NDC coming out with their manifesto, well, it sounds pretty nice when you listen to the NDC manifesto, what they are talking about. But then the challenge that we have as farmers is we need a national plan, a policy that will be there. NDC are coming out with their manifesto. MPP are coming out with their manifesto.
Nana Boadie, I think you're... Nana Boadie, can you hear me? Hello, what? Nana Boadie. I think you're too close to the mouthpiece, and so we are getting interference. We lost you there for a second. Is it okay? Yeah, it's better. Let's go.
Yeah, so what I was trying to say is we have these two political parties coming out with their manifestos and other things, right? All sounds good. NDC's own that came out, that was last week, sounds very nice and perfect, looking at the things that they have been talking about. And every farmer would be glad just to embrace it. But let us ask ourselves, how long will they be in power? Let's say 4 years or 8 years they will go. Other political party will also come out with a political party manifesto to also scrap all these things out and then bring their also manifesto. I think all these things is drawing we backwards. That is the reason why the country is not going forward. We need a national policy that will protect the farmers, especially the cocoa farmers in this country, a roadmap that every political party that comes will follow. When it happens like that, it will be better. Because this one will come and say, well, we'll be selling the fertilizers. This one will come and say, no, we will not sell the fertilizer. This one will come and say this and that. So it's like they are playing with our intelligence, which is very dangerous on the part. Because when the cocoa trees was in danger, none of these two political parties wake up just to protect it. It is only with the concerned farmers that tore the length and breadth of this country to save the trees. And even trying our best in a way that cocoa production will increase. No FBO or no organization in this country wake up for this. So we are telling them that we need, if these two political parties want get a chance to become the president of this country, all that we need is they have to make their manifesto a national policy, which the constitution will back on it, that any political party that comes will not just take it off and then bring a different thing, but rather it will be there for the rest of the life. So that we will be okay, because it's like they are playing with the farmers. They are just joking with the lives of the cocoa farmers. Because looking at what is happening now, a lot of farmers are now selling out their cocoa trees. Others have sold it. We went down just to save this thing, and we are even still on it. But let us ask them. They are coming out with manifestos and other things. What are they talking about the trees?
So,
what are they doing about the trees?
Guarantee
has been a serious thing. Destruction is ongoing. We have this, all our security agencies are around. They are under their watch. They are doing it. It is nice that the NDC has come out with a very nice and a very brilliant, how do you call it, manifesto, which we embrace it. But at the end of the day, we the farmers are going to decide who should be the president of Ghana coming 2024 elections. Because we concerned farmers, we've told the length and breadth, we've listened to these two political parties and other political parties. We will declare our intention on November just to support a party that thinks that this policy that they are bringing will help us so that we follow.
So Nana Boadie, what I'm asking you now is...
for them to make it a national policy.
Nana Boadie, just final follow-up and then I'll let you go. So these policies for the free healthcare and so forth, increase in the price of purchasing cocoa and all that, does it not meet any need for you at all? I get that you say you need a national plan, sustainable, so that no other government will come in and halt the progress that you've made, hitherto. But do these meet any need for you as cocoa farmers at all?
Exactly. We need it. We need it. Farmers need an increment. As I'm speaking to you right now, there's an ongoing discussion with the farmers that this upcoming cocoa price that they are going to increase, they are talking about getting, let's say, 5,000 or 6,000 per bag. That is ongoing discussion within the farmers, we ourselves. And that is the projection that we are heading towards to make sure that we'll be getting a very good yield. So what they are talking about, it is very nice. So all these things, when they put it down and then they make it a national policy, putting up a very good healthcare centers within our various catchment area to help. For me, my son died all because there's no healthcare within my vicinity or my community. He just died. But if we have, first of all, a very good healthcare center within the various farming communities, we will not be losing our children. Our wives and other things will not be laboring on the back floor, or maybe will not be losing their life during labor. So we need a policy that will be nice. So NDC's policy that they came out with, though it is nice, we are watching, we are still into it, and then we are going to decide coming November, and then December we are going to vote for.
Thank you so much, Nana Obuade Boateng Bonsu from the Concerned Farmers Association. But there's also a lot in this manifesto, in both manifestos really, that seeks to turn this economy around. Let's listen to what was said, especially as pertains to youth unemployment. And then we have a conversation with Professor Lord Mensah, and he's an economist. So first, the sound.
We are equally committed to creating more job opportunities that will significantly reduce youth unemployment among the national population that has increased over 5 million in the last 8 years alone. We have created so far 2.3 million jobs, the most of any government in the Fourth Republic. But youth unemployment remains a major concern, and that confronts us. And we are committed to doing even more. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, it is better to continue with a party that has created more jobs than any other in the Fourth Republic than go back to a party and a leader who, after 4 years of doom so, created more unemployment than any government in the Fourth Republic.
Alleviating the current economic hardships. And one of our first programs is the no-fee stress policy. There are many students who are unable to take up their places in tertiary educational institutions because they cannot afford to pay their academic user fees, the academic fees. And so we'll take that stress off them. For the first year, they will not be required to pay fees. And I assure the universities it will not affect their internal generated funds. We're going to give the money to the student's loan. The student loan will pay it to the universities as a grant. It will be paid as a grant, not as a loan. And aside from that, we're going to increase the subvention that goes to our public universities so that we can improve quality and learning in those universities. We will provide free tertiary education for all persons with disability. And we will provide free sanitary pads for girls in school. If you remember, Nana Jane started that policy with a World Bank facility, and they called that loan the PAD loan. Yes, we are proud of the PAD loan. It will allow our young girls who are going through their periods to be neat and hygienic and not to miss school, be able to go to school all year round. We will uncap the National Health Insurance Levy. Currently, there's a cap on the levy, and so a certain portion of the levy goes into the consolidated fund. And so the Health Insurance Authority is not able to pay the health facilities, reimburse them for the services that they provide. We will uncap the health insurance so that all the National Health Insurance Levy will go into the National Health Insurance Fund so that they can pay the hospitals for looking after our people. And of course, this is associated with it. We'll reprioritize the health digital jobs initiatives. We'll partner the private sector to invest $3 billion to leverage ICT for jobs. And this will be through the 1 Million Coders program. We announced this in 2020, and we didn't win power, so we couldn't implement it. Somebody lifted it from our 2020 manifesto and quickly put it out as if it was theirs.
Let's discuss this with Professor Lord Mensah, an economist with University of Ghana Business School. Prof, so now that the NDC has launched their manifesto, we've seen clearly that both political parties are focused on job creation, on education and skills training. In your assessment, what gaps do you foresee if both of these policies or directions are implemented for both manifestos? I think we lost Professor Lord Mensah. So let me just go around and take your closing remarks, and then I'll come back to you in the studio, and then we can wrap up. I'll start with you, Professor Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante. Do we need an upgrade or do we need to reset? Final words.
Any of the two options, okay. But what we need is that a better lives for our people. We need jobs for our people. I train people at the university and ask myself, what work are they going to do? Podcast science, even main campus students, about 1,400. I mean, you're talking about distance and the rest of them. What are they going to, what jobs are there for them? The parties continue to tell us that, yes, we created jobs, but there are a lot of people without jobs. So we want the parties to focus on that. There were missing links in the manifesto. None of them touch upon the issue of what these affordable housing that are in the bush. What are we doing about that when we have spent so much money on that? The issue of what, even cocoa, they talk about cocoa and all the rest. Look at the MPP, you are talking about cocoa, yet Galamsey is destroying cocoa farms. And what are you doing about this? So we are saying that, one, let them make sure that what they promise us, now this is the beginning of the conversation. Let them talk about how they will take us there. You want to build a bank. How much cost is it going to what? How much cost us? And we want to know. And then we want to know the hope that the manifesto brings to us is critical. That people will know that this is a good thing and we need to embrace. And then they talk about, MPP talk about the Aging Act, that they want to improve the life of, the aged. If you want to improve their life, you don't subject them to what? Haircuts. But I think that all in all, they need to reflect on this and come out with something that will resonate with our people and it will stand the test of time.
You heard there Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist and head of European Studies at the University of Ghana. And before I go to Dr. Osai Kwapong, Professor Lord Mensah has joined us again. Prof, I was asking for your comparative assessment, now we have both manifestos, of what's in it for Ghanaians and the economy, and which strategy has a more pointy approach to turn the economy around.
All right, good morning and good morning to our viewers. If you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Right, so clearly I will look at, the various manifestos as a kind of, promise, and we may have to come to a realization of it. And I always take my mind back to the history of, manifestos over the Fourth Republic, and how, we've used it to achieve, political targets. And clearly, I look at it from about 3 indicators. I'm looking at, is the manifesto achievable? Can the government achieve it? And then does the manifesto take into consideration the current economic situation? And then possibly look at, the funding. Because we've had a situation where we tend to deliver on manifesto promises that tends to affect the economy in the long run. If you look at the current administration, in the 2016 manifesto, clearly, it was really promising. And you will come to understand that, because of these promises, we ended up, setting up several ministries that has come to draw, down the public purse without necessarily, giving us the output that is expected. So from where I sit, I'm looking at manifesto, that can deliver to the people. Manifesto that will be, the real touch of what? The people. That is very, very important. Rather than, just calling out, things that at the end of the day, delivering it will become more costly to the economy without getting any output from it.
Professor Lord Mensah, sorry I have to rush you, but do this for me. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate each manifesto in terms of feasibility on turning the economy around? On a scale of 1 to 10.
In terms of feasibility, I would say that, the NDC's manifesto is more touching. It takes into consideration, the current economic situation. Looking at jobs here and there, and then leveraging on, what the economy has, for now. Because we have an economy where, financing is a problem now as we speak. You know, the capital market has been blocked on us. We cannot raise money apart from money market. So if you go all out there to promise unnecessarily, I ask myself questions, how are you going to fund, you know, in such manifestos? But if you have, you know, a manifesto that is driving of 24-hour economy, that is more or less leveraging on existing structures, I mean, from where I sit, I think I'll go for it. And from 1 to 10, I'll give, let's say, 8 to the NDC manifesto, and then 6 to the MPP one.
Interesting. We are about wrapping up, but let's go for what the Vice President has been saying and his arguments in favor and against resetting and upgrading the economy.
If, according to him, we have mismanaged the economy in the midst of a global crisis, if our mismanaged economy is outperforming you in virtually every sector, this economy that you are saying has been mismanaged. We are performing you in GDP growth, in per capita income, in gross international reserves, in every sector, roads, hospitals, schools, everything. Free SHS, all of that. If this is the mismanaged economy that is outperforming you in your economy that had no global crisis, no crisis at all, but you couldn't afford chalk. You couldn't afford chalk, but there was no crisis. So if our mismanaged economy is performing better than your better managed economy, then in that case, you must not have been very good. Let me put it mildly. I was going to say incompetent. Because our bad economy it's much better than your good economy. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I represent the future, and Ghana needs an upgrade and not a reset. And so I've also outlined my 14 key commitments to the Ghanaian people. These are to sustain and expand Ghana's rebounding economy, create new jobs, implement wide-ranging tax reforms, build Ghana into a world-class digital economy, reduce the cost of living, expand public infrastructure, provide better health care for all, implement affirmative action for women and girls, and expand educational opportunities for all, provide good governance, care for the elderly, protect our environment, boost sports, creative arts, and tourism, protect our borders while keeping our neighborhoods safe.
We just have about 2 minutes to go, but Prof, let me put this to a quick vote. So, based on your assessments of these two manifestos, do we need a reset or do we need an upgrade?
Yeah, for me, we need a reset. Okay. Because, I mean, an economy that has deteriorated to a level where inflation got to 54%.
Right.
And this inflation, which builds up into price increase, is still lingering on the market. I mean, from where I sit, it's a deterioration.
Okay.
You only, upgrade when, something good is happening, and then you leverage on it, upscale it. But as we speak now, the typical Ghanaian economy, I mean, it's not the economy that we know. So it must be restored. It must be reset, to where we used to have inflation
but Prof,
about 8%.
Dr. Bawumia is saying that
about 9%.
Prof, Dr. Bawumia is saying that the economy is turning a corner. We've slowly, built up the economy, and now we're about to flourish.
As you see, I mean, myself and you know very well that the economy turning around the corner is not being felt in our pocket.
Okay.
You go to the market, the price is still on the increase. Okay, the fact that inflation has dropped to 20% does not mean that there's no price increase. Remember, inflation has been at 54% before, and that momentum is still lingering on the market.
Right.
So the market woman does not know that we've turned the corner. If you look at interest rates on the market, how is interest rate faring? Look at, the cost of borrowing. Now it's only government that can borrow on our market. What shows that the economy has turned around?
That's all that time will allow us for Professor Lord Mensah. He's an economist with the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you for making the time. Dr. John Osai-Kwapong, your final thoughts, please.
Well, both parties have made their case. We have, 3.5, 4 months to the election. Let's see what the Ghanaian people do and say about whether we need a reset or whether we need an upgrade.
Let me put it to a quick vote for you. Do we need a reset or we need an upgrade?
You know, you can never get me to answer those questions.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. John Osai-Kwapong. He's a CDD fellow and a director for the Democracy Project. Let me come back to this. Do we have Dr. Joseph Obeng with us still? Okay, I think he's gone. That was the president of GUTA, and he also joined us for the conversation. Mr. Awingobit, you have the final say.
Well, I know that the current government, in which the vice president is with, has a loan, a $3 billion loan from IMF. And some of these taxes that his government could not abolish is as a result of these conditions. I know the vice president is very much aware that there are old age picketing at his Ministry of Finance every day, every now and then, that their coupons are matured and nobody is listening to them, which he says he will do something about the aged if he's come to government. So if there's something to be done,
we have to go.
If there's something to be done, then it should be done now for our old agent. I know that there are external debts that the government default in payment. And so when he comes 2025, how is he going to handle all these things and give us a flat rate and whatever he promises us? I don't want any scam. So, Vice President, we are prepared to sit with you or your team. Let us know timelines. Because or else to come to government and come and say, you are sorry, that is not what we
So, based on what you have right now, reset or an upgrade, if you had to choose at gunpoint, I might add.
There's nothing like gunpoint.
No, I'm just asking. Reset or upgrade?
There is nothing like at gunpoint for me to choose. Ghanaians are watching, and Ghanaians are feeling it in our pocket. They have to convince us beyond reasonable doubt, and not as just a main speak. That is not what we want.
Mr. Asaki Samson Awingobit, the Executive Secretary of Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. And I told you Saturday is our election. PNC will be going to the polls to elect a new presidential candidate, a new national leadership, which Samson Asaki Awingobit is contesting to become the next national chairman of our party. We'll be able to rebrand and repackage and reposition the party in the minds of Ghanaians, and I expect nothing less than the party to endorse me come Saturday to be the next national chairman. Thank you.
Of our party.
So let's take a quick break. We'll be back with more, and then we wrap up for the AM show. I'll be right back.